when I scrolled through my feed that crisp autumn morning and saw the photo of Kim in her flowing white dress, standing hand in hand with my son Alex under the golden vines of Napa Valley. Something inside me shattered like fragile code crashing in an old program. It wasn't just the exclusion. It was the rings glinting on their fingers, the ones I'd paid for with my retirement savings, thinking they were for an engagement party I'd helped plan. Only the closest, the caption read, with hashtags like hashtag intimate ELOPEMENT and hashtag new beginnings. Closest, the words stung like a glitch in my heart, replaying over and over as I sat there in my quiet Bay Area kitchen. The hum of my ancient coffee maker, the only sound breaking the silence. I stared at the screen, my fingers hovering over the like button out of habit, but I couldn't press it. The fog outside my window rolled in from the bay, mirroring the haze in my mind. How had we gotten here? Me, Linda, the woman who'd coded her way through the early days of Silicon Valley, now reduced to an outsider in my own family's story. I closed the laptop with a soft click, the weight of betrayal settling in my chest like unread emails piling up. But even then, in that moment of raw hurt, a small voice whispered that this wasn't the end. It was the debug I'd been avoiding for too long. Let me take you back, though, to how it all started, because stories like this don't erupt from nowhere. They build line by line, like a program compiling over years. I retired at 65 after a solid career in tech, nothing flashy like the unicorns you hear about today, but steady work at a mid-sized firm in Palo Alto, writing software that helped optimize networks before the cloud was even a buzzword. I'd seen the valley boom and bust, watched young hotshots rise and fall, but I always kept my feet on the ground. My late husband, Tom, was the dreamer. He passed from cancer 10 years ago, leaving me with a modest nest egg and our son, Alex, who was just starting out in the startup world. Alex was my everything after Tom died. Bright, ambitious, with that same spark his father had, but channeled into apps and ventures. He met Kim at a tech mixer in San Francisco. She was a marketing whiz, sharp as a tack, with a smile that could close any deal. I liked her at first. She called me Mom Linda and we'd chat over video calls about the latest gadgets. When they moved into that sleek, high-rise apartment in Soma, with views of the Transamerica Pyramid twinkling at night, I didn't hesitate to help. Mom, the rent's insane here, $5,000 a month, but it's where the action is, Alex had said, his voice crackling with excitement over the phone. I wired the money every month, watching my savings dip, but telling myself it was an investment in their future. After all, wasn't that what parents did? Build bridges for their kids to cross. And it wasn't just the rent. Alex had this startup idea, an app for connecting freelancers with AI tools. Revolutionary, Mom, he'd pitch, his eyes lighting up during our Sunday dinners at my modest bungalow in Menlo Park. I'd drive up to the city, arms loaded with homemade lasagna, Tom's old recipe, with layers of ricotta that smelled like comfort, and we'd talk shop. I'd chip in $10,000 here, $15,000 there, totaling $40,000 over 3 years. You're our angel investor, Kim would say, hugging me tightly, her perfume a mix of citrus and ambition. I believed it. I savored those moments, the clink of wine glasses, the laughter echoing off their minimalist walls, the way Alex would squeeze my hand and say, "Couldn't do it without you." My days were simple but fulfilling. Mornings started with coffee and coding, hobbies I tinkered with, open source projects, keeping my skills sharp. Afternoons, I'd walk along the bay trails, the salty air clearing my head. Or volunteer at the local senior center, teaching basic tech literacy to folks my age. "You're a wizard, Linda," they'd say, as I showed them how to video call grandkids. Evenings were for scrolling tech blogs or chatting with online forums about elder tech. I wasn't lonely. I had friends from my working days scattered across the valley, and we'd meet for coffee in cozy spots like Phil's, debating the ethics of AI over steaming lattes. But looking back, there were cracks in the code, subtle bugs I ignored. Kim's calls grew shorter, more transactional. "Hey Mom, Linda, Venmo request incoming investor meeting outfits." She'd text, followed by a heart emoji. "Alex stopped inviting me to demo days." "Too technical for you, Mom," he'd say gently, but it pricked. I brushed it off as their world speeding up, mine slowing down. After all, at 70, I was the retiree, they the rising stars. I kept the transfers flowing, each one a digital hug, a way to stay connected in their fast-paced lives. Then came the engagement, or what I thought was one. Alex called one evening, the city noise buzzing in the background. "Mom, we're making it official." Kim said yes. My heart soared. I rushed to the jewelry store the next day, picking out ring-simple bands with a tech twist, engraved with binary code for forever. $2,500, but worth every penny. "Can't wait for the wedding," I told them over dinner that week, the lasagna steaming on the table. Kim smiled, but her eyes flicked to Alex. "Yeah, about that, ... We're thinking small." I nodded, assuming I'd be there. How could I not? The first real clue crept in like a slow-loading page. It was a Friday afternoon, the kind where the Bay Area sun filters through eucalyptus leaves, casting dappled shadows on my porch. I was sipping tea, browsing my investment app, when a notification pinged. Another Venmo request from Kim. $1,000 for honeymoon fund. Honeymoon. They hadn't mentioned dates. I texted Alex, excited for the big day. "When is it?" Hours pass. No reply. That night, as I lay in bed, the silence of my empty house amplified by the distant hum of Highway 101, a niggle of doubt settled in, but I pushed it away, telling myself they were busy. Startups don't sleep, right? The weekend dragged, each unanswered text a tiny weight on my chest. By Sunday, I was at their apartment unannounced, a peace offering of Tom's sourdough bread clutched in my hands, the kind with that perfect crusty snap, still warm from my oven. The doorman waved me up, familiar with my visits. But when the elevator dinged on their floor, I paused outside their door, hearing laughter inside, glasses clinking. Not the stressed startup kind, but relaxed, celebratory. I knocked softly, my heart thumping like an overclocked processor. Godkim opened the door, her face flushing slightly under the glow of string lights draped across their open-plan living room. "Mom, Linda." What a surprise. She stepped aside, but her smile was tight, like a UI element misaligned. Alex lounged on the leather sectional I'd helped buy, surrounded by half-empty champagne flutes and what looked like wedding favors, tiny boxes tied with ribbon. "Hey Mom," he said, standing to hug me awkwardly. The air smelled of expensive takeout sushi and something floral, Kim's signature scent. "What's all this?" I asked, setting the bread down, my voice lighter than I felt. "Oh, just a little pre-wedding thing," Kim said quickly, sweeping a favor into a drawer. Alex shot her a look. My stomach twisted. "When's the actual day?" I pressed gently, scanning their faces. The room fell quiet, save for the faint jazz playing from hidden speakers. Alex rubbed the back of his neck, a habit from childhood when he'd fibbed about homework. Actually, Mom, we eloped yesterday in Napa. Super intimate. Kim nodded, pouring me a glass of bubbly that I didn't touch. Just us, the officiant and a photographer. No fuss, eloped. The word landed like a server error. I blinked, the champagne fizzing mockingly in my hand. But the rings, I thought. Alex's eyes darted away. Yeah, those were perfect. We used them, not celebrated with me. Kim chimed in, her voice syrupy. It was magical, under the vines at sunset. We posted pics if you want to see. Pics. That's when it hit the Instagram post I'd seen, the one that broke me. I forced a smile, congratulating them, but inside, code lines unraveled. They walked me out after 20 strained minutes, promising dinner soon. The elevator descent felt endless. The city lights blurring through tears I wouldn't let fall until I was home that night. Alone in my bungalow, the eucalyptus-scented fog pressing against the windows. I pulled up their social media. There it was, Kim radiant in white lace, Alex beaming, vineyard backdrop golden in the late light. Likes poured in from their tech circle venture capitalists, influencers, Kim's yoga friends. Comments like congrats, you two. Hashtag power couple, and heart emojis. No mention of me, the woman who'd wired $40,000 into their dreams, who'd picked those rings thinking of family photos we'd frame. Special people only, I thought bitterly, echoing the exclusion. I scrolled deeper stories of the reception after, toasts with Kim's parents, her sister dancing. My chest ached, a hollow debug log of one-sided love, but suspicion festered like unchecked malware. Why the secrecy? Why not even a heads? I replayed our last dinner, Kim's evasive eyes, Alex's vague, small wedding comment. Had they planned this? I checked my bank app, obsessively transfers steady Venmo requests, piling up. $5,000 rent last month. $2,000 for marketing software. $500 for client dinner. Always urgent, always justified. I tried calling Alex the next morning, the phone ringing against the quiet tick of my wall clock. Voicemail, text. So happy for you both. Why didn't you tell me? Dots appeared, then vanished. Hours later, busy with meetings. Mom, love you. No apology. No invite to see photos in person. The clues mounted, subtle at first, then insistent. A week later, another Venmo ping. $800 for venue deposit. Venue. They'd already married. I denied it, my thumb hesitating over request declined. Panic texts followed. Mom. Need this for investors. I called then, voice steady, despite the tremor in my hands. Alex, explain. His tone sharpened over the line, city traffic honking behind him. It's for the startup launch party. Post-wedding vibe. Come on, you know how it is. But the request was from Kim, labeled Napa follow-up. Lies layering like nested functions. You've been paying for everything. Mom, don't stop now. The plea twisted into pressure. His voice edged with something new entitlement. I lay awake that night. The glow of my laptop screen casting blue shadows on the walls. I dove into old emails, transaction histories. Patterns emerged, every emergency aligned with their social posts, new gadgets, brunches, that Napa trip itself, partially funded by my startup investment wire. $3,000 for team retreat. I'd approved it blindly, trusting. Now, doubt compiled into certainty. They weren't building a future with me in it. I was the back-end server, invisible, powering their front-end glamour. The betrayal crystallized, not just exclusion, but exploitation. My savings, Tom's legacy, drained for a life that shut me out. The discovery hit full force on a rainy Tuesday. The kind where Bay Area drizzle patters endlessly on the roof, mirroring my unraveling thoughts. I'd driven to their apartment, laptop in tow, determined for truth. No knock, this time my buzzed up with the code they'd given me months ago for emergencies. Inside, the place reeked of fresh paint and ambition, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the gray bay. They were at the kitchen island, laptops open, Kim in yoga pants scrolling spreadsheets, Alex on a call. He muted it when he saw me, surprise flickering. "Mom, what's up?" I set my laptop down, opened the spreadsheet I'd built overnight, every transfer, every Venmo, time-stamped against their posts. "Sit," I said calmly, though my pulse raced like a DDoS attack. Kim's eyes narrowed. "What's this?" I pointed to the Napa line. $3,000 wire, posted the next day. "You used my money for your elopement. Then posted without me. Why?" Alex shifted, avoiding my gaze. "Mom, it's not like that. It was spontaneous. Spontaneous." I'd seen the planning Kim's Pinterest boards I'd glimpsed. Tagged me in once by accident. Spontaneous after I bought the rings. My voice cracked slightly, but I held steady. Kim jumped in, her tone defensive, fingers drumming the marble counter. "Linda, we appreciate everything, but it's our wedding. We wanted privacy. Privacy from me. The provider. You called me your angel investor. I paid your rent $180,000. Over 3 years plus $40,000 for the startup. That's my retirement, Tom's money." Alex's face hardened, the boy I raised replaced by this man. "Mom, you're exaggerating. We needed it to survive here. SF is brutal. Survive." I pulled up the post, their smiling faces mocking me. "You toasted with champagne I funded, while I sat home alone." Silence, stretched, broken only by the rain. Kim's eyes iced over. "Look, we're grateful, but you're retired. You don't need it all. Don't need it." The words sliced. Alex added, softer but firm, "Mom, just send the next rent. We'll talk wedding later." Later. As if I hadn't already been erased. I stood, closing the laptop with finality. No more. Their protests followed me to the door. "Mom, wait." But I was already rewriting the script. In the elevator, tears came, hot and unbidden, tasting of salt and shattered trust. Back home, I blocked their Venmo, canceled auto transfers. My bank app confirmed it, access severed. For the first time in years, my accounts breathed free. The days after that confrontation blurred into a fog of quiet resolve, the kind that settles after a system reboot everything familiar, yet fundamentally reset. I sat at my kitchen table that first evening, the scent of cooling sourdough lingering from the loaf I'd left behind, now stale on their counter. My fingers flew across the keyboard, not in anger, but in documentation. Every email, every Venmo request, every bank transfer organized into folders labeled rent support, startup investments, personal expenses, timestamps aligned with their Instagram stories. A $1,200 wire for team building matching a yacht party post. $800 for client gifts tied to Napa wine tastings. The evidence, compiled like a forensic audit, cold and irrefutable. But action demanded more than spreadsheets. I needed to protect myself, to firewall my life from their access. First, the bank. I drove to my Palo Alto branch the next morning, the sun piercing the fog like a promise. Mr. Patel, my longtime advisor, kind man with wire-rim glasses, and a gentle accent greeted me warmly. Linda, everything okay? No transfers went through yesterday. His concern was genuine, his eyes scanning my face. I slid my laptop across the desk. More than okay. I need to cancel all automatics to Alex and Kim, block their linked accounts, and set up alerts for any new requests. He whistled softly as he reviewed the totals. You've been generous, Linda. Over $220,000 in 3 years. That's your nest egg. Nest egg. The phrase evoked Tom's voice, planning our retirement over late-night coffee. I nodded, throat tight. Time to nest for myself. While he processed the changes, my phone buzzed relentlessly texts from Alex. Mom, what the hell? Rent, due tomorrow. Kim, this isn't funny. Call us. I silenced it, watching notifications stack like error logs. Mr. Patel handed me new security codes. 2-factor on everything. You're locked down now. Driving home, windows down, the eucalyptus breeze whipping my hair, I felt lighter, unburdened. But the calls escalated, voicemails, pleading, then accusing. Mom, you're overreacting. We need to talk. I deleted them without listening fully. Each swipe a small liberation. That night, alone with a glass of Cabernet Tom's favorite, poured from a bottle I'd saved for special occasions, I started the blog. Silicon Valley Shadows, When Family Code Goes Rogue. Anonymous at first, hosted on a simple WordPress site I'd spun up in an hour. I poured out the story, the support, the exclusion, the elopement funded by my savings. Not for revenge, but catharsis, a digital exhale. I've coded secure networks for Fortune 500s. I wrote, but couldn't see the breach in my own home. I hit publish, the page live under a foggy Bay Area skyline header. Sleep came fitfully, dreams of vines choking my bungalow. Morning brought the backlash. Alex pounded on my door at 8 a.m., his face flushed under the porch light I'd installed years ago. Mom, open up. I watched through the peephole, heart pounding but feet planted. Go home, Alex. We're done funding. His voice rose, echoing down the quiet street. This is insane. You're acting crazy. Crazy. The word lodged like a virus. Kim appeared behind him, arms crossed, her yoga-toned frame tense. Linda, let us in. We can fix this. Fix this, like a bug they could patch. I cracked the door chain. Fix what? The lies. The exclusion. Alex pushed forward. You're delusional if you think cutting us off helps. We built something with your help. Built something that locked me out. Neighbors peeked from windows. Mrs. Chen across the street, watering her orchids with raised eyebrows. I closed the door firmly, dialing the non-emergency police line as his knocks turned to bangs. Trespassing, I said calmly when the officer answered. Within minutes, a patrol car arrived, lights flashing softly. Alex and Kim stood on the sidewalk, arguing with the cops. She's my mom. Alex protested, voice cracking with frustration. The officer, a no-nonsense woman with a notepad, took my statement through the door. Ma'am, you want them removed. I nodded. Yes. And a report, please. They left fuming, Alex shouting over his shoulder. This isn't over, Mom. You'll regret this. regret. No. Empowerment surged, like fresh code deploying. I spent the afternoon fortifying. Changed door codes, installed ring cameras ironic, using tech to guard against my own. The blog post gained traction overnight, shares from senior forums, comments from women in similar straits. "You're brave," one wrote. "My daughter did the same." Another, "Document everything. They can't touch you then." The online community bloomed. A virtual support group of betrayed parents, swapping legal tips and validation. I replied to each, my words steady. "We're not we're people." But Alex escalated faster than I anticipated. A week later, a certified letter arrived, thick official, stamped from a San Francisco family law firm. Notice of petition for conservatorship. My hands trembled as I tore it open. The legal jargon, blurring. Petitioner Alexander Richter seeks appointment as conservator of the person and estate of Linda Richter. Due to demonstrated incapacity. Incapacity. They were suing to declare me mentally incompetent, to seize control of my finances. The grounds: erratic behavior, sudden cessation of financial support to family, installation of surveillance equipment indicative of paranoia, publication of delusional online content defaming family members. Delusional. My blog, my shield, twisted into a weapon against me. I sank onto the sofa, the letter crumpling in my fist, the room spinning like a crashed app. How could my son, brilliant, empathetic Alex, file this? For money. The betrayal deepened, roots twisting into my soul. Tears came then, silent streams down cheeks, lined with 70 years of giving. But through the haze, clarity emerged. I wouldn't crumble. I'd fight with the tools I knew: data, evidence, community. I forwarded the letter to my lawyer, Ms. Rivera, fierce Latina attorney I'd met through a tech women's network, specializing in elder rights. "They're desperate, Linda," she said over video call, her office bay view framing her determination. "But they've handed us ammunition. We'll countersue for harassment." That evening, as fog swallowed the sunset, I updated the blog, "When support turns to suits. My son's bid for control." Views spike, treats from influencers. A local news tip line pinging. The public consequence was unfolding, not through my design, but their own recklessness. Alex's startup Twitter filled with concerned replies. "Heard about your mom's situation. Rough." Kim's LinkedIn comments turned skeptical. "Is this why funding dried up?" Their polished facades cracked. Silicon Valley's gossip mill churning. Yet in the quiet of my bungalow, surrounded by Tom's old photo frames and the soft whir of my new security system, I felt a strange peace. The action I'd taken, cutting ties, building walls, had forced their hand, exposing the truth to the world. Justice wasn't vengeance. It was visibility. And as notifications buzzed with support from strangers turned allies, I knew the trial ahead would test me, but I was no longer alone in the code. The morning after the conservatorship notice arrived, I woke to the insistent chirp of my Ring camera, APO motion alert, at 6:17 a.m., rubbing sleep from my eyes. I tapped the screen, Alex's car idling in my driveway. Fog lights cutting through the pre-dawn mist like accusatory beams. He didn't approach the door, just sat there, phone glowing in his hand, probably drafting another ultimatum. The sight chilled me, not fear, but the raw confirmation of how far he'd fallen. I watched for 10 minutes until he drove off, taillights fading into the gray. That footage. First, exhibit for Ms. Rivera. She arrived at my bungalow by 8. her leather briefcase thumping onto my kitchen table amid the aroma of fresh coffee brewing strong. Black, the way Tom liked it for tough days. Ms. Rivera. Alina, 2 friends, was in her mid-50s. With sharp eyes behind stylish frames, and a nonsense bob that matched her reputation. Linda, walk me through it, she said, pulling out a yellow legal pad, her pen poised. I did every transfer, every plea, the elopement, gut punch, ending with the blog that now had 5,000 views. She nodded, jotting notes, occasionally glancing at my spreadsheet. This is gold. Financial abuse in reverse there, the predators here. We spent hours strategizing. They'll paint you as paranoid. The cameras, the blog, cutting support, she warned. Sipping coffee from my chipped mug. We'll counter with your tech-savvy show. It's calculated protection, not delusion. She outlined the defense. My clean psychiatric eval from Dr. Patel, a geriatric specialist. Witness statements from neighbors like Mrs. Chen, who'd seen Alex's door pounding. Bank records proving my competence. And the blog's community as character evidence. And we'll file for a restraining order. No more unannounced visits. By noon, papers were signed. My signature steady despite the tremor in my soul. You're not just fighting for money, Linda. You're fighting for autonomy. The public consequence snowballed that afternoon. My blog post about the lawsuit exploded, 10,000 views by dinner, shared by a local ABC affiliate reporter who'd messaged, "Story." I hesitated, then replied, "On background first." By evening, my inbox overflowed. Support from AARP forums, tips from elder law groups. Even a venture capitalist DMing, "Heard about your son. His startup's toxic steer, clear." Alex's professional world, so carefully curated, began fracturing. I scrolled his LinkedIn, connections withdrawing, comments like family first, man laced with subtext. Kim's influencer gigs dried up. Her latest post a sponsored yoga mat promo sat with 0 engagement. Followers whispering in group chats. But the real storm hit 2 days later, when the restraining order hearing loomed. Alex called from a blocked number, his voice muffled, desperate. "Mom, call off the dogs. This lawyer crap. It's embarrassing." I put him on speaker for Alina, who listened silently. "Embarrassing for who, Alex? You suing your own mother." His breath hitched. "You're blowing this up online. My investors saw it. Funding's at risk." Funding. Not my pain, but his bottom line. "You excluded me from your wedding, used my money for the rings, then tried to declare me incompetent when I stopped paying. That's not embarrassment, that's betrayal." Kim grabbed the phone, her voice shrill. "Linda, you're killing us. Rent's overdue. We can't even eat. I'd filled their fridge for years." "Learn to cook," I said flatly, hanging up as Alina mouthed, "Good." The hearing was in a stark San Francisco courthouse, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like angry hornets. I arrived early, Alina, at my side, my heart a steady drumbeat. Alex and Kim sat across the aisle, him in a ill-fitting suit, her in subdued black-laced power couple, more defendants. Their lawyer, a slick type with a Rolex glinting under the lights, avoided my gaze. The judge, a stern woman with silver hair pulled tight, reviewed the filings. "Ms. Richter alleges harassment and trespass," she intoned. Alina presented the ring footage. Alex's car stalking my driveway, his pounding fists time-stamped. "This isn't concern. It's intimidation." Alex's lawyer countered weakly. "Family dispute. Mr. Richter worries for his mother's mental state." but the judge wasn't buying it. She granted the order 100 yards minimum, no contact except through lawyers. As we left, Alex lunged forward, face twisted. "Mom, this is war now." Security escorted him back. Outside, rain slicked the steps. Kim shot me a venomous glare, but I met it with calm. "You started it," I whispered. Victory tasted bittersweet, the city fog muffling their retreating footsteps. Word spread like a viral thread. The local news picked it up. Silicon Valley mom sues son for conservatorship, whist. He counters for control. My blog, LinkedIn articles. Views surging to 50,000. Strangers emailed stories, daughters draining accounts. Sons forging powers of attorney. A podcast invited me. I declined anonymity, going live as Linda Richter, the firewall mom. Listeners flooded comments. "Queen, protect those nests." Alex's startup Twitter imploded, investors pulling out, a co-founder resigning publicly. Ethics matter more than equity. Kim's brand tanked. Her last post deleted, profile gone private. Yet, amid the fallout, glimmers of humanity emerged. Mrs. Chen knocked one evening, orchids in hand, saw the news. "Proud of you." She stayed for tea, sharing her own tale of a grasping nephew. Online, my community grew, a Discord server of silver sentinels, swapping legal hacks, building solidarity. Even Alex's old college buddy messaged, "Dude's always been entitled. You raised him right. He chose wrong." The antagonist faced consequences, not through my cruelty, but exposure. Their greed laid bare in headlines. Forcing accountability. But justice's weight pressed heavy that night. Alone, I poured Tom's Cabernet. The rich berry scent evoking memories of our valley hikes, hands clasped under starry skies. Tears fell not for them, but the boy Alex once was, bike races in our driveway, dreams of changing the world. I'd given everything. They'd rewritten the code for their gain. Alina called. "Conservatorship trial, in 2 weeks. They're scrambling, hired a psychiatrist to evaluate you." Evaluate? As if I were buggy software. "Let them come," I replied, voice steel. I'd deploy my own defenses. Dr. Patel's eval, already glowing, cognitive scores top tier for my age. Exceptional executive function. As rain pattered the windows, I updated the blog, from funding to firewall. Standing firm, posts poured in, hugs in emojis, virtual toasts. The public tide had turned, their polished lives dimming while mine illuminated. But deeper still, a quiet reckoning. Family wasn't blood alone, but chosen bonds. I'd lost a son to ambition's shadow, but gained an army in the light. The war wasn't over, but my lines held strong, ready for the courtroom's final compile.